California coast, the finals of Land Rover TReK 1999. Hi, I'm Arlene Burns, standing in the fog high above the Pacific Ocean at the crack of dawn to bring you the decisive final day of Land Rover TReK 1999. TReK is an annual day-long marathon of events that test the skills of Land Rover retail personnel from around the United States and Canada. The events are Land Rover Logic, the Service Drive, Land Rover Cross, TReK Trials, a Time Speed Distance Rally, Orienteering, the Sulliel Cup Regatta, and finally, the TReK Test Drive. 6 teams have survived the elimination rounds and are ready to go today for the championship.
Come in, watch out.
They are evenly matched, so we're looking for tough competition every step of the way. The finalists competing today have come here from Land Rover dealers all over the United States and Canada. From Aurora, Colorado, Land Rover Denver East. The team from the Automaster in Shelburne, Vermont. This is the team from Land Rover Lake Bluff near Chicago. From San Diego, California, the team from Pioneer Centers. Representing Canada, Land Rover Richmond from Ottawa. And rounding out the 6, Land Rover North Point near Atlanta. It's 5 a.m. and in the tent, the teams are taking the Land Rover Logic test. They've got to know product history, mechanics, rally math, and off-road driving technique. Since it's going to take some time to score these tests, we'll check in later for the results. After the mental workout, the teams are now ready for their first big physical challenge of the event, the Service Drive.
2, 1, go!
The first part of this race is a tough uphill run to reach their vehicles. Shane Boley of Automaster is first to the top, with Sean Lawler of Pioneer Centers hot on his heels.
Come on, Randy!
Bob, Scott!
No team can start driving until all the team members are inside the vehicle. North Point joins up and leaves first. And Pioneer moves out. Followed by the Automaster sneaking in just ahead of team number 5, Richmond. Each team is driving identically prepared Land Rover Discovery Series 2s. It's really foggy this morning, and it's going to make parts of this next phase even tougher. North Point gets to the line first. This is tough going, but I think that Pioneer is coming in next.
344, 175 yards.
Each team has got to find their spare tire that's been hidden in the hillside underbrush, using only distance and compass point directions. One member from each team stays behind and gets ready to secure the tire. North Point looks very strong. Finally, the tire's on, but it's far from over. They've got to drive up to the next line for another task.
Say when? Gear, go. Easy.
North Point still leads. And the second they reach their next stop, Paul Zeman gets his bearing for a second time. It's crucial. Here's Pioneer. Every team has got to change the air filters. The challenge is that the new one can only be found at the compass course written on the old air filter, and each team's location is different.
122 degrees, 100 yards. Straight that way. Come on. 140. 140? 100 yards.
North Point is looking.
Cowboys, let's go.
And David Krutz got it. In third place, Denver East begins the hunt.
360, 100 yards.
This fog is so dense and cold, it makes it hard to even breathe. But North Point's back with their filter, installs it, and moves on. Pioneer's moving out, trying to catch North Point.
Come in.
With Denver East just a couple of seconds behind. North Point's already got this leg underway. Using a high-lift jack, they've got to pull the vehicle over the line. And here comes Pioneer. It's only about 10 feet of pull, but they've got to reset the jack twice to get it all the way across. Each click of the jack brings the vehicle forward only about an inch. This is tough work. And Jim Daly tries to catch up for Denver East. North Point resets for the final pull. Denver East resets, and look at that. Tom Vitrano's crossed over the winch strap. That's a penalty because it's dangerous, and the judges enforce a 60-second hold penalty. Tough break. North Point finishes their pull. Bob Smith from Pioneer saw North Point crossing the line, and he's really pouring it on. There goes North Point to the next task. And Denver East seems to be back in business. And Pioneer is ready to move on and hopefully move up from second place. Here's first place, North Point. Using a ground anchor and a winch, they've got to move their vehicle to the next line. The crucial part of winching is getting that cable wrapped perfectly. The judges are very strict about this. Even though they're behind, Pioneer must work methodically. There is no time to mess up. There must be tension on that cable. A loose wrap will foul the wind. Here's North Point, and it looks like one of the judges has spotted something wrong with that winch wind. Yes, indeed, they may have to unwind the entire spool. Wow, North Point sure has a mess on their hands now. Oh boy, this may cost them first place. And Pioneer pulls ahead.
Let's not get overconfident.
This is some really bad luck for North Point, but believe me, it happens to everybody. And Pioneer wins the service drive.
All right!
What was your strategy?
You know what we made it up on was the winch cable. That's how we made it up. We were behind on finding the tire. We were off by a degree or two. Old Sean found it for us. Good job, buddy.
Right on.
Made it up on the winch cable.
Woo. Here are the results of the service drive, with Pioneer on top, Denver East second, and North Point a disappointing third. In the Land Rover logic test, Lake Bluff took first. Denver East and North Point were very close in a tie for second. Denver East is in first place overall after 2 events, but they've got to watch out because 3 teams are very close behind. Successful off-roading combines 2 very important skills: absolute vehicle control over a wide variety of terrain and the ability to navigate. And believe me, it's not easy. Next up, we have 4 events that will test these team skills behind the wheel and the compass. Autocrossing is a test of accuracy at speed. Each team will try to negotiate this course through the cones fast and clean. Hitting a cone adds 10 seconds to their time, and missing a gate altogether adds 20.
Go.
Pioneer is up, Bob Smith driving. He gets 2 laps, then a driver swap. After all 3 drive, they'll switch courses. Their score is the combined times for both, and they're doing pretty well. Meanwhile, North Point is on the other course. They're going to be really hard to beat. They won this in their trials and have very few hits here. They know how to coach each other around the cones. And North Point goes on to win the autocross with Pioneer second. Now let's go to the Redwoods for another event, TReK Trials. This is another precision driving event on a course that's way harder. The judges are walking close behind, watching those gates very carefully for touches. Dan Matthews is driving for Lake Bluff. Like all these tests, there's a great deal of skill involved. With this one, you need to have a good feel for the dimensions of the vehicle. Now North Point has their turn. Each driver gets just 1 go-round. You know, these guys won TReK in '96, so there's got to be some kind of advantage going on here. They're just awesome at these precision driving exercises. And North Point wins this event with Lake Bluff second. Okay, over to the time, speed, distance rally.
Really low. There you go.
We want to be hanging a right at 2 minutes, 39 seconds.
The teams must drive a route described not on a map, but in a book.
We're at 104. We need to be at 134.
Pioneer works on critical coordination of speed and direction. They're shooting for the ideal lap time.
There it is. There it is.
I can see the trail right there.
You know, there are other teams out on the course at the same time. Progress is monitored at hidden checkpoints. If they pass by early, it's a penalty. Lake Bluff takes off 10 minutes later. Most rallies are staged on roads. Pavement is a big asset. This one takes advantage of 4-wheel drive capabilities, and the terrain makes it a lot more fun. Lake Bluff turns in an excellent time and wins their first event of the day. Peter Donnelly likes the change of pace. How was that event for you?
Beautiful.
Perfect.
Yeah. Now we're able to use our brains instead of our brawn.
Orienteering is the last exercise before these guys take a break.
Run up the road that's right here, and then try to get number 1 and number 2 that's up in there.
Using a topographical map, compass, and a GPS, the teams have to find 15 hidden checkpoints. They can drive, bike, and run to find data at each flag. In this event, they really put their expedition skills to the test. Richmond chooses to work together.
Go!
Denver East has a different strategy. Hey, you guys. Here's your other team member.
He's on a bike.
How many have you gotten so far?
We've gotten 4, and our buddy, he's gonna get 4. Hopefully be winners.
Well, that was a smart move, and Denver East goes on to win. At the end of 6 events, North Point has moved into first place, but only 10 points ahead of Lake Bluff. With 2 events to go, Denver East and Pioneer are also very much in the running. More action from Bodega Bay and Land Rover TReK 99 coming up. For this next event, the teams will trade in their vehicles for canoes and mountain bikes.
Go, guys.
They'll carry their canoes to this creek, paddle downstream for about a mile, and then they'll jump on their bikes. North Point is out in front. They have a tremendous advantage because the creek is narrow and no amount of canoe expertise will help them here. The only advantage is being ahead. The water can get very shallow. North Point's taken to running. And nobody said in the rule book that you had to paddle. Richmond's in second, and Automaster has passed Pioneer and is now in third. North Point is out of the water first and ready for the bikes, but Pioneer is now way back. North Point is trying to regain some energy by pushing their bikes up this first long hill. And Automaster leaves the creek. Watch them on the bikes. They're really good, and I know they want to make up some time. North Point has finished the first climb. Automaster Shane Boley has passed the entire Richmond team and is chasing North Point. Where are his teammates? This is very important because a team's time is calculated once every member is finished. So even though one member is way out in front, it won't help if the others are far in the back. North Point has reached the ridge, and I can see a couple of riders way off in the distance. It's Shane Boley. And right behind him, teammate Kurt Shangraw of the Automaster. Unfortunately, third member Randy Adams is pretty far back. This is a wicked downhill, and it's Shane now in the lead. He's past North Point. It's so dry and steep, you've got to brake carefully all the way down. Here comes the North Point team. And here comes Kurt. These guys are really flying. Looks like he's okay, but the way he was screaming down the hill, it could have been a lot worse. Shane continues to lengthen his lead. And here comes Kurt. This is the outrigger technique. Here's the first team. It's North Point, and they're closing in on the finish. Looks like they're going to win. Shane is the first finisher, but he's all alone. Here's Pioneer all together and in second place. And the winners from North Point.
North Point.
Here are the results of the canoe bike race. North Point is first, Pioneer second, Richmond third, and Automaster fourth. And after 7 events, North Point still leads, followed by Lake Bluff, Pioneer, Denver East, Richmond, and Automaster. In a moment, the final event, the TReK Test Drive. The sun has finally joined us for this last event where the teams will go head-to-head and against the clock in a test of driving skills and teamwork. The Automaster is on the left, Richmond on the right. First, they have to drive through these incredible articulation bumps. Then up this very narrow log ramp.
Ready?
Open a log ground gate. This thing is really heavy. And drive to the next obstacle, the graveyard. In order to drive through here, the teams have to haul a set of logs and build bridges across the 4 graves. Believe me, these logs get heavier with each move. The driver has to have total trust in his teammate who becomes the spotter. It's his job to place those wheels. A slight miscalculation can cause disaster. Now the side tilt. Using a winch strap, the Discoveries are rigged to drive along a 60-degree slope. Without the strap, the vehicle would roll over.
Good, right there, now straight, beautiful.
Drive it.
And another obstacle, this extreme breakover. The vehicle is hung up and they've got to winch themselves over the top. Once again, as the cable winds on the drum, it's got to be perfect.
A little gas. Okay, nice and easy.
Now at the pond for the finale. There's an old Land Rover waiting on the other side, which has to be winched across. One person has to swim and attach the cable, and then take a ride as he's winched to the finish. In this first heat, Richmond's time is 37:49, 2 minutes ahead of Automaster. So theirs is the time to beat. Let's go to the next heat. We've got Denver East currently in 4th place and Pioneer in 3rd. This should be a great race. These bumps are so wild. The trick is to drive with a steady throttle, and Pioneer's doing just that, pulling out first. And right on their tail, Denver East barrels on. And to the log ramp. Still ahead, it takes all 3 Pioneer guys to heft that log. Denver East sure could use that 3rd man. Pioneer's already on the 1st grave. Oh no! This is the first time anyone's driven off these logs. This is a very dangerous situation for the team and they could lose the car. They're going to have to be very careful. This looks pretty bad. And of course, Denver East is pulling even further ahead. I don't believe it. We've just gone from bad to worse. This is going to take a while to figure this one out. This just blows it wide open for Denver East. They're trying everything and it's just not working. Is it over for Pioneer? But can you believe it? A judge's call is going to hold up Denver East. Well, this will help Pioneer a little. It looks like they've now decided to winch it out using the logs as a ground anchor. Pioneer really thought this one out. A winch, a lot of weight on the log anchor, and it's resurrection time. Out of the grave and back to life. But I don't think there's any way to catch Denver East.
Right in the middle. Front bumper, middle.
That pond's pretty icy. You don't want to stay in there any longer than necessary. And the old Land Rover surfaces once again. Pioneer just refuses to quit. And Denver East is done. Well, great job, guys.
Thank you.
Well, it took a lot longer than I thought it would.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay.
And now I know why Pioneer continued. Bob Smith wanted just one more ride across that pond. Great going, guys. You've won the Team Spirit Award in my book. Neither team has beaten Richmond's time. When we come back, we'll have one more race and the winners of TReK 1999.
2, 1, go!
It's down to the last heat, and we've got the 2 top teams, North Point and Lake Bluff. It's going to be very close. Let's watch. The time to beat is Richmond's 37:49. North Point won this event 3 years ago and has been under a lot of pressure.
Left hand down, left hand down.
They're neck and neck.
Connected.
This 60-degree angle is way beyond what the vehicle can do on its own without the strap.
Right. Everybody watch out.
North Point's got the edge here. Everyone's watching North Point to see if they'll make a mistake, especially Lake Bluff.
What do the winch do?
The log.
In the trials, North Point got a 5-minute in-place penalty for stepping over the winch cable. But even then, they won. And I doubt if they'll make that mistake today.
Come on! Don't step over it!
And North Point goes down the chute to the pond. Lake Bluff held in place for touching a rope. It's North Point to the water. And Lake Bluff is out of the penalty box. David Crude is already hooked up. North Point now has a solid lead. A second here, a second there. It adds up.
Peter, go!
Both teams are steady now, but North Point is holding on to the lead. You can't rush winching. And it's all over. North Point wins with an amazing time of 22:02. Lake Bluff has a good time as well. But will this win for North Point be enough in the overall standings? Team North Point, you guys were awesome. It looks like your winching went flawlessly this time.
Thank goodness. Thanks to our man Brian.
Yeah, right.
So you think you've done it?
I don't know. It feels good right now, but you never know.
Here are the final standings. North Point is on top with a total of 740 points. Lake Bluff is second, and Pioneer, even with their misfortunes in this event, finishes third. So North Point is the winner of Land Rover TReK 1999. They were under a lot of pressure to repeat their win of 3 years ago. And they've done it. Congratulations, guys. It started before dawn and is ending just as the sun is setting. It's been a long day of great competition. On behalf of the winners and all the competitors here in Bodega Bay, I'm Arlene Burns for Land Rover TReK 1999.